the GMTK Game Jam. It's one of the biggest game jams of the year, and this year there were nearly 10,000 games submitted. The last time I worked on a game was GMTK 2022, and well, this year, I felt the itch. I wanted to make another game. So, I teamed up with Spicy Chicken and Rubber Octo again, 3 years later, to compete in GMTK 2025. As always, I was the artist, Spicy Chicken was in charge of programming and music, and Rubber Octo designed the levels. The theme for this year was Loop, and with just 96 hours to create something, we began brainstorming. I had an idea to create an Overcooked inspired cooking game related to a sushi train, but other than it being a sushi train, I hadn't really developed the idea a whole lot. We also toyed with some platformer ideas, but there was just one idea that we couldn't shake. Trains. As soon as Spicy suggested a train track building game we had to create a loop, I just couldn't get a North American West inspired art style out of my head. And we knew that it wasn't the most novel game idea, but we also knew that we would have the most fun making it. And for us, it wasn't about winning or going for the criteria, it was about reigniting our love for making games. It can be hard starting the art for a game, because there's just nothing to go off. Color palettes for me can change a lot as the style develops, but in a jam you sort of just have to go. I made some little track pieces in a 16x16 pixel tile size, just to see if the colors looked good. Later I realized that I would need to upgrade to a 20x20 tile size. This very odd drawing is me trying to get some nice colors that would work well together. Then I reworked the tracks to be super chunky, and oh my god did they look better. Because the tracks are made of multiple tiles, it was a good choice to go with 2 wooden sleepers per tile. This made the tracks much more cartoony and cute, and also made them a lot easier to look at. Happy with the tracks, we needed a train asset and we needed it in 8 different directions. Technically we only required 4, but the angles were nice to have while the train was turning. Resources in Settlers of Catan have always been so satisfying to me. I don't know if it's the colors or the different styles, but they're so nice. I think it's the same thing that makes elemental power so satisfying. Anyway, I've always loved the resources. In fact, there's an old scrapped video from 2020 between my Parallax tutorial and my Bob Ross video, where I tried remaking the Catan tiles in pixel art. My pixel art ability was a lot more limited back then, so I didn't like what I made, but I'm sure I could revisit it now. All of that's to say, Catan really influenced the resources in our game. The train goes past depots and picks up resources in the little carts. So I made all of the carts at 8 different angles, with and without the resources in them. Also, if you're wondering what this cow's name is, her name is Bessie. UI was really important in this game. Sorry for the abrupt segue, but I'm watching this footage back, and as soon as I'm finished with the carts, I just jump onto buttons. The 4 days were just a blur of doing anything that needed to be done and trying to prioritize the right things. But the reason UI was so important for this game was because it was one of our first mouse-controlled games. We were basically making an editor. And something that was important to me was that placing track was as satisfying as it could be. I wanted to get enough dopamine for the whole game just from clicking and placing track. So I made some animations of the placing, and I also gave them dust particles, but the dust wasn't able to be implemented in the time we had. Going back to the resources, not only did I have to make the resource cards, but I had to make the depots. These were so much fun to make and brought some of that Catan charm I love so much. Now something that I really wanted was that North American wilderness aesthetic. I'm not from America and I've never been, so if you live in Colorado and think I've butchered your whole state, I'm sorry. I wanted to have 3 sections relating to the easy, medium, and hard, where you start in a forest and work your way to the desert. You can see this represented in the select screen, but unfortunately whilst I made the assets for the different biomes, there just wasn't enough time to implement it. But I bring up this wilderness kind of aesthetic because it's what influenced the level complete screen. However, as we removed basically all greenery from the game and left it in the desert, it became basically a Wild West kind of aesthetic, which I lent into with the writing. Now, as time began to dwindle, we had to make decisions about what we wanted to keep. And some of Rubber Octo's writing before each level had a lot of character and whimsy to it. But we didn't have time for anything fancy. Spicy was already working overtime trying to get everything in. So I came up with this character image that could be put behind all the text. And I'm so glad I made this guy because he brings so much fun and life to an otherwise serious game. I named him the Cactus Conductor and he sort of became the mascot for the game. So much work was crammed into these few days, and then suddenly it was all done. It was ready to be submitted. We'd made a game. Somewhere in the middle of the night we uploaded it, and then we were free. We could eat, sleep, go outside, and whilst we had made it for the fun and joy of it, we eagerly awaited the results. The next week we played a few of the other games from the jam, and there were so many awesome games. It kind of breaks your brain to realize how much talent there is in this game jam. Over that week, so many people played our game, and had really kind things to say about it. So, the results. How did we do? Well, our unofficial average was 162 out of the 9,000, which is pretty crazy. That puts us in the top 2%. And for art, we came 9th, putting us in the 0.1%. which I don't think my brain will ever be able to compute properly. So thank you to everyone for playing and voting and sharing your love for the little green conductor. If you want to play the game right now, it's free on itch and playable in browser. There are 9 levels to complete and you can get 3 stars in all of them. I haven't, but don't tell the others that. The game's a little rough around the edges, but that's to be expected from a game jam. We're talking about maybe polishing it up, adding a lot more levels, and this is crazy, but hopefully releasing it on Steam. Anyway, big dreams aside, thanks for watching. I had a blast competing in this game jam and making a game again. Hopefully we'll win some more game jams soon because I have so many art styles and themes that I haven't drawn and would just love to make. Catch you in the next one.